Hi everybody! We're continuing with our rereading series, and oh my god, let me tell you, I think this is the best chapter yet. This is also, I found to be a sad chapter. Tragic in many ways. It's just me today, so I want to get right ahead. This is the second Catelyn chapter. What happens here is Ned and Catelyn get a message from Lysa that the Lannisters, Cersei specifically, is the one who murdered Jon Arryn, the former head of the king, who is also Ned's kind of adoptive father. So they argue, should Ned go to King's Landing or should not? And their argument, I found, is very interesting. First of all, we have to erase all that we know about the decision to go to King's Landing from the show, because in the books, it's the opposite. Ned does not want to go, Catelyn wants him to go. And their argument is particularly interesting. They're basically having two parallel discussions. Catelyn is talking about the political situation and ramifications of going and not going. And Ned, he's not talking politics. He just shares his feelings and insecurities. He doesn't feel up to the job, doesn't want to leave his home, his family. He feels vulnerable. So let's dig right in. The very first thing that drew my attention is at the beginning of the chapter, Catelyn, who we know from the previous Catelyn POV chapter, does not feel like she belongs in the north, but she does seem to feel like she belongs in her room. It seems like this should go without saying, that your room should be like your sanctuary. But I found it interesting that George Martin, calls the bedchamber her bedchamber. And this is the least Starky place in Winterfell. It's the hottest room in the entire keep. The heat there drives the chill away. It reminds her of home, of her family. Maybe she misses home. At one point she even describes the cold as cold like the grave. This is how she feels in the north. Subconsciously, maybe. Ned, on the other hand, he could never abide the heat. The Starks were made for the cold. And I found that to be particularly interesting because it got me thinking. For the first time, maybe this is a great way to explain away why she was so quick to leave Winterfell later to King's Landing to see her husband. Maybe that's why she was so quick to take Tyrion later to the Eyrie instead of going back home to her kids. And maybe that's why she was also eager to join Robb in his war in the Riverlands and not join her two young boys. Maybe she just subconsciously wanted to find reasons to stay away from the north. What do you think about that? At the very beginning, it starts out this way. When they had finished, Ned rolled off. Ooh, that's so sexy and romantic. He rolled off. And then he climbed from her bed. Her bed. So he is the Lord of Winterfell. He owns everything in Winterfell. He owns the land in the north, this vast land. But this is her bedchamber and her bed. So this kind of reminds us that this feudal world is also a patriarchal world. What she can own is only her bedroom. Then Martin writes, as he has done 1,000 times before. So, according to my calculations, this means that over their 15 years of marriage, they have been having sex 5 times per month. Good for them. They've been married for so long. They still get the hots for each other, I guess. That's good for them. Good for them. And she even wants another child. No, sorry. She wants another son. And the reason it's important that she wants another son, we'll see that as they argue about their political fortunes. So Ned kicks off the conversation. He tells her that he wants to stay. He says that it's because his duties are here, but it's pretty clear that he wants to stay. There are many duties out there, right? Duty to your king, to your realm. No, he wants to stay. He just tries to explain it away as his duty. She, on the other hand, is having a whole different argument. She's talking about the geopolitical situation and how he has no choice. But as we have seen in Ned's previous chapter, he lacks the realpolitik gene. So she states her case. Her case is that if he refuses the king's request, he will harm his relationship with the king and thus put the entire family in danger? No, and he's answering that they are very close. He loves Robert. Robert loves him. They are closer than brothers. This is a personal retort. She talks about the political situation and he answers in personal terms. So she takes him back to the politics. You knew the man. You do not know the king. He will be insulted. He will think that maybe you don't support him. She tells him he has bestowed honor upon you by coming here and by offering his son to marry your daughter. And he's like, I didn't ask for that. That didn't feel like honor. And Sansa, she's only 11. No, that doesn't matter how old she is. She will soon be a woman. She's a political pawn in the grand scheme of things, right? Their daughter will be queen someday. Her son will be king. Okay, so you don't like Joffrey. Who cares? She cuts him off. He is the crown prince. That's all that matters. Who cares if you like him or not? He's the heir to the throne, to the Iron Throne. I get Ned. I feel for Ned through this entire chapter. He just wants to stay. He wants to stay. But his arguments are invalid in this political story, inherently political story. So I found it interesting that Catelyn might not belong in Winterfell in the north, but Ned, he does not belong in this world. No. He's having a conversation with his wife, but she's in it to win. This is a policy argument for her. She wants a victory. So these two parallel conversations, the political versus the personal versus the politician, that gets them both frustrated with each other, right? She gets frustrated because it's her chapter, her point of view. We realize that she's frustrated by his inability to see the political realities. In the previous chapter, Jon notices that when Ned looks at the hall, he can see nothing. He looks with hooded eyes. So this is some foreshadowing for the things to come. She's not his wife. She's his political ally. Their marriage was a political alliance. So this is when we learn that she was supposed to marry his older, taller, more handsome, and more accomplished brother, Brandon Stark. He still does not like to be reminded of that fact. Catelyn says it's a shadow on their relationship. That makes sense, right? The sibling who everything was made for, right? He feels so he's like the second choice, the backup, the substitute. It's very personal to him. To her, nah, she just replies, perhaps this was not meant for you. But Brandon is dead, and the cup has passed, and you must drink from it, like it or not. That's cold. It also shows that Ned, he feels that power is a burden. So they married because of politics. She was supposed to marry the heir to Winterfell. Number one got dead, so now it's time for number two. But for him, it's again more personal, a personal duty to his brother, like the personal duty to his sister that he deemed more important than his political duty to his king. He didn't report to his king that Rhaegar, the person the king hates the most, has a son, a trueborn son, with Ned's own sister, with his best friend's sister. And his best friend's sister is the person that he loves so much that it would have broken all of his narrative about the war, about why he's king. Imagine the sense of betrayal that he would have felt had he known. And Ned has a political duty to inform the king, but he chooses his personal duty to his sister. So they're arguing, and in the middle of their argument, in comes Maester Luwin with a message. A secret message from Lysa that is intended for Catelyn. So it shows that she's part of the cabinet, of the government. Maester Luwin does not give the letter to Ned. Pardons, my lord, but this is for Catelyn, for Lady Catelyn. She feels that it's a bad omen. There's grief in this letter. And it also relates to when she starts the arguments. Even though she's talking in political terms, we can hear her thoughts, and her thoughts are telling him that she has to make him see that the stag that killed the direwolf mom, that's a sign. And so many things here are signs. He has to see the signs, and here she feels, she has an instinct that there's sadness and grief in this letter. Does she care about her sister's murdered husband, about her sister's grief, or about the shifting political realities? It's her point of view chapter. She does not express sadness over her sister's misfortune. It seems that she is worried that the Lannisters will take over and endanger the Starks' political standing in the realm, because we know what happens in the end. Spoiler alert, everybody dies. And I thought there was a nice twist on the whole male-female trope. Like, he's being emotional and vulnerable. She senses his vulnerability, and she uses that. She's very manipulative. She pushes all his buttons to get what she wants. Like, at one point, she softens to see his pain when it suits her purpose. Then she withholds her affections at the right time to allow him to crack under pressure, or just stays silent when it's strategically right. And he, the poor fool, he just shares his feelings and his emotions with his life partner. She has a plan, she has a vision, and a strategy to get there. He's no match for her. If he can't outmaneuver politically his wife, I don't know. And the coup de grace in their argument is when she uses his own arguments against him. Ooh, who doesn't love to do that in relationships? You say you love Robert like a brother? Would you leave your brother surrounded by Lannisters? Boom, checkmate, you're out. There's nothing more you can do. Oh, or maybe you don't love him like a brother? Is that it? Is that it then? So she takes it for granted that men sometimes have to make sacrifices. They have to sacrifice their lives in war, right? They have to sacrifice their time with their family for political reasons. She has to go to King's Landing. You just gotta, Ned. This is reality. Come on. But then she's taken by surprise when she has to sacrifice what is most important for her children. Because they're all leaving except Rickon and Robb. She thought they would all go together south. Maybe she was subconsciously just looking for a way out from this dreary place. But by then she played all her cards, and she has none left when he informs her, because it's his decision at the end of the day. She has to stay. The children, most of them, will go. That's what's called a Pyrrhic victory. It's tantamount to a horrible defeat. The political is personal, so if he takes a new job out of town and the commute is very long, she thinks she will never see his face again. And now all of a sudden, now she's making personal arguments. Bran is only 7. Come on. When he said that Sansa is only 11, she didn't bat an eye. And now Ned tells her, I was 8 when I was sent to be fostered by Jon Arryn. You wanted politics, woman? Then you got it. Stay here and govern. And it's interesting to see that in this world, if you are the Lady of Winterfell, you not only have a voice in political discussions, but because the personal is political, the family is a political unit, everyone has a political purpose, then she, as the mother with a capital M, has a strong say about the children, and thus about the future, about strategy, about policy decisions. Because she says your political decisions will affect the safety of my children. So I found this conversation to be a nice twist on the male and female character tropes. The man, Ned, he's thinking irrationally. He's thinking emotionally. He just wants to stay. Come on, I want to stay. And the woman, she's the rational one, the practical one, the political one. That was nice. Another lingering shadow between them, another pain, is Jon Snow. She says that she never forgave him for that. We can understand that, but no. Okay, so you had affairs. Who cares? Okay, so you fathered some bastards. Whatever. But you bring him over to my house and you call him son for all the North to see. That's humiliating politically. Not personally. She doesn't mind that he sleeps around. No. But you bring a bastard and you call him son, and later she says his children will compete with the children of my true-born sons. Also, what cut deep for her was that Jon was in Winterfell before she got there for the first time after the war. And try as she might, she never got to know the truth about John's parentage. Ned didn't want to have any discussion about it. He actually frightened her when she asked him plain and simple to his face who is the mother. He just said, he is my blood, and that's all there is to it. Conversation over. So she's thinking Ned must have loved her fiercely, John's mom. So the love that one bears for a child is intricately connected to the love one bears for the child's biological parent. Didn't occur to her that he loves John because John is awesome. Maybe he's a good dude. Maybe he's kind, empathetic. No. So here again, the personal versus the political. Ned owes Catelyn political allegiance. He should tell her, because she's his political ally, he should tell her who John's mom is. But his personal duty to his sister trumped his political duty and personal duty to his political partner. Would it have been better if he had confided in her? Maybe she would have treated John better. Or maybe she would be angrier that others in the north don't know the truth, that think that he's his boy. I don't know, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. As it says here, there are no secrets in a castle. So maybe if you tell one person, you can't keep the secret anymore. And anyway, he made a promise. I found their dynamic during this argument to be very nuanced. It described really realistically how a marriage operates. So another character here is Maester Lewin. He's a trusted member of the government. And again, here we see how Ned thinks. He tells him, I trust you as I would my own blood. The personal is political. We can trust people that are not our blood, even sometimes more than we trust our blood. But again, it's all convoluted here. And Maester Lewin can come in at any time if he deems it important. Ned trusts him. Catelyn trusts him. He stays during the discussion. There are hints, though, that he has many tricks up his sleeve. I think that the fact that he has no ego and is unassuming and grey himself makes him a perfect fit for the Starks. So either he was a perfect fit before, or maybe he just adapted perfectly after being assigned by the Citadel to the Winterfell. And when he gives Catelyn the message, which is very elaborate, like in a box, and there's a lens, which is a hint about sight, that's what Catelyn says, and he's right there with her, and they have this back and forth, boom, 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 boom. And Ned, he doesn't follow the conversation. They're smarter than him. He can't participate. They're ganging up on him. He has no choice. Just knowing what we know about Lysa, that it was all Littlefinger manipulating Lysa. And Littlefinger is not yet even part of the story. He's incredible. He's incredible. Okay, let's get to two pieces of writing that I did not like that much, even though it's really a great chapter. It says, her loins ached from the urgency of his lovemaking. It was a good ache. Meh. Then, when they talk about sending John to the wall, he wants John to enjoy his last few days in Winterfell, and he says, summer will end soon enough, and childhood as well. Come on, that's spoon feeding. That's spoon feeding. Let us figure it out that summer means childhood, nostalgia, naivete, and winter means adulthood. Come on. Okay, let's get to the best part of the chapter in my eyes. I felt that Ned is such a tragic figure. He wants to stay home. He wants to stay away from politics. He wants to be with his family. It's all super complicated and he was not made for this. The tectonic plates are shifting under him, forcing him to go out of his comfort zone. And we know that path will lead to certain death. And the two people he maybe loves the most, his wife and his best bro, Robert, who is closer to him than a bro, which shows again how the personal trumps the political for him. They are both the ones who are pushing him to make the wrong decision, for him and for everyone. But granted, for all the right and smart political reasons. He's a victim of the political reality in this, and everyone will pay for this. And he's crying as he realizes that he has to leave his home. I just felt bad for him. Come on. Another victim of the tectonic plates shifting is Jon. I didn't remember that the final push that got him to join the Night's Watch was that he just had no other place to go. Ned says, I can't take him south, nobody will accept him at court, I can't take a bastard there, and she's like, no, he's not staying here. No. So the Night's Watch was kind of like the elegant solution to get rid of this political problem. So Jon thinks He wants to go to the wall, right? We got that from the previous chapter. But Ned's, he knows what the wall is. And this is his sister's only son. He had mad love for her. So he feels this is super cruel. Ugh. And he knows also that Jon is not a bastard at all. He's actually a contender to the throne of his friend. And he must go to exile. I think before he tries to rationalize it and says a bastard can move up in the ranks in the Night's Watch, he must have felt like sending Jon to the wall was kind of betraying his sister's dying wish in some way to keep him safe, maybe. But Catelyn just would not have it. She's all political. She's thinking 10, 20, 30 years ahead about her grandchildren and Jon's children. So all of the people here are just pieces on the chessboard. But not in a cold way, right? Her heart aches when she realizes that she would not see most of her children. But Jon, he has to leave his family. He's shunned. This chapter, I think, is the first crossroads of this story where everything starts to go wrong. So, thank you for watching and listening. If you want to support our channel, you can go to patreon.com/GOT Academy. We have a lot of extra content for patrons. Political stuff, historical stuff, social stuff. We regularly post highlights for on the YouTube channel for everybody. If you want to see the whole thing, then check it out on patreon.com/GOT Academy. So we'll see you all next time. Bye everybody. Thanks for tuning in.